Greetings. My name is Forrest Edward Fries. The 18 charter members of the church chose me to be the first pastor in 1917, back when it was known as Hollis Center United Baptist Church. I was 64 when my wife Olive and I took on this new endeavor. Not only did I pastor in Hollis, but I lent my services to the Bar Mills Church as well. It was under my leadership and by the grace of God that we were able to build our first meeting house. It cost $2,000, which would be around $41,000 today. I resigned my position in 1921. I am a part of HCBC's history.
My name is Samuel Evans. I emigrated from Ireland in 1906 and became a naturalized citizen in 1919. When I took up the pastorate in 1921, I was 38 years old. One of the members of the congregation was paid $25 to drive my wife Caroline and I to and from church on Sundays. I was only with HCUBC for a year. Year-long appointments were common for pastors during this time in history. When it came time for us to move on, Caroline and I moved to Bath, where we took up the leadership of the People's Baptist Church. I am a part of HCBC's history.
My name is Ruth McKay. Pastor Leo Lamont Dunn is my uncle. He arrived at HCUBC and worked as an itinerant evangelist, filling pulpits and conducting Bible conferences. He was well known for his excellent singing voice, a joy to listen to all his years. He also lent his services to the Free Baptist Church in Biddeford during this time. It was quite a distance. He was paid $5 by the HCUBC and spent $3 on a horse and buggy to take him back and forth each week, but he didn't mind. He served until 1925. I, Ruth McKay, his grandniece, am still a current member of the congregation. When I was 9 years old, in 1949, he and my grandmother Helen led me to the Lord, and in 1962, he participated in my wedding ceremony. He was a fun uncle who always took me to the Skowhegan Fair. He and Aunt Blanche also nurtured my love for collie dogs. He was a man who loved God and pastored into his 80s. He's part of HCBC's history.
My name is Olive Bettel. I was a Moody Bible Institute graduate and missionary when I briefly filled Hollis Center United Baptist Church's pulpit in 1925 before heading off to Angola, Africa. I shared my passion for missions with the congregation, and it is partially because of this that missions are still such a huge part of the church today. The entire community was impacted by the Great Depression, but the church faithfully set aside money for local missions work. I am a part of Hollis Center Baptist Church's history.
My name is Miles Byron Fisk. I moved around a lot in my earlier years and served in the Spanish-American War with a regiment from Montrose, Pennsylvania. I was 51 when I became the pastor of HCUBC, and my wife Caroline and I had 9 children together. I served the church from 1925 until 1926 before moving on to serve the Lord elsewhere. I am a part of HCBC's history.
My name is William Grant. I was Hollis Center United Baptist Church's pastor from 1927 to 1928. Although not a lot is known about me, I am a part of HCBC's history.
My name is William Leonard. I started out my professional life as an accountant for a Virginia steamship company before I moved to Maine. In 1928, I took on the pastorates of Bar Mills Baptist Church and Hollis Center United Baptist Church. In 1929, I became the sole Hollis Center United Baptist Church's pastor, and membership grew from 18 to 57 members during this time. During the same year, the United Baptist Convention raised the annual dues from $25 to $50. It was determined that this money would better help Olive Biddle in the mission field. United was dropped from the church's name after it was discussed at the annual meeting. I am part of the Hollis Center Baptist Church history.
My name is Chauncey James Stewart. I served at a church in Rockland, Maine, before I came to Hollis in 1929. When I took up the pastorate at HCBC, I was the first unmarried pastor at the church had ever hired. That didn't last long. I met Elsie Clark, and we became the first couple to be wed at HCBC. Not only that, but I was the first minister to be ordained at the church as well. I served the church for a decade, much longer than any of my predecessors. I am a part of HCBC's history.
My name is Sidney D. I became the pastor of HCBC in 1939. I was a quiet man interested in art, photography, and engraving. I looked forward to my time with the church, but God had other plans. World War II was raging, and I was summoned to Fort Devens to be trained as a chaplain for the U.S. Army. I kept my post with HCBC because I thought I would soon return, but I ended up serving my country for 6 years. It wasn't until the 1950s that I took another pastorate in Portland, but I am still a part of HCBC's history.
My name is Ruth Jackson. I came from a family of reverends and graduated from Gordon College with degrees in theology and divinity. My passion and calling did not end at the pulpit. I was also a trained nurse. When I came to Hollis, I served both Hollis Center Baptist Church and the Bar Mills Church. I am remembered as hardworking, well-loved, and musically gifted. I served the church from 1939 to 1943, when Hollis and Bar Mills began discussing a separation between the churches. Because I didn't want to be responsible for such a division, I stepped down. I am a part of Hollis Center Baptist Church's history.
My name is Lester Holmes. When I came to HCBC, I was a widower with 2 daughters and a well-known evangelist in the area. I married my second wife, Grace, and we served Hollis, Bar Mills, and West Buxton churches as we were needed. When the Great Fire broke out in 1947, our church remained open to provide help to firefighters and people with no place to go. When the fires were eventually extinguished, HCBC held a service of thanksgiving. My family and I lost our home and possessions in Waterboro, but remained grateful that so many lives were spared. I left the church in 1948 after 5 years of service. I am part of HCBC's history.
My name is Walden Corbett. My wife Isabel and I came to HCBC in 1948. Our first project was to finish the parsonage for my family and the families that would come after us. I was the first minister hired exclusively to serve HCBC and stayed until 1950 when I left to pastor at First Baptist Church in Massachusetts. I am a part of HCBC's history.
My name is Foster Nelson. My wife, Evelyn, and I came to HCBC in January of 1951. Our passion was for children and youth. We organized the Pioneer Girls and Boys Brigade. I was a frequent speaker at summer youth camps. We were active in Youth for Christ and Child Evangelism of Maine, and we started Good News Clubs in Hollis. Despite financial difficulties during my tenure with HCBC, a steady stream of missionaries, special speakers, and music teams came through our church and received donations for their effort. During this time, I doubled as the church janitor and was given permission by the church to work a secular job to make ends meet. But we made it through, and Evelyn and I were with the church until 1955. I am a part of HCBC's history.
My name is Clyde Park. I was a Navy airplane mechanic during World War II, but my heart never left Southern Maine. My wife Jane and I loved this community, and were loved in return. We felt called to Hollis Center Baptist Church, and I accepted the senior pastor position in 1956. Over the next 5 years, I got a lot of joy out of working beside members of the community, doing anything from shoveling manure to using my mechanic skills. In 1959, our church constructed a new addition, and when it was completed, I was blessed to perform our congregation's first baptisms there. I am part of HCBC's history.
My name is Jack McCarran. My wife Elsie and I were called to Hollis in April of 1962. I was the second of 4 pastors to be ordained at Hollis Center Baptist Church. I was a builder by trade and very interested in my new community. One of my biggest projects was building the youth center next to the parsonage, but I also constructed the furnace room at the Hollis Fire Station. It was during my time at Hollis Center Baptist Church that discussion began about the construction of a new building on a larger property. It was my job to prepare the congregation for the challenges of this type of growth. In July of 1967, I was called to another position. I am part of Hollis Center Baptist Church's history.
My name is Wallace Sterrett. My wife Phyllis and I came to HCBC from Greenfield, New York in 1968. I was known for living my life with an eternal perspective and trying to glorify God in all aspects of my life. I resigned in 1970. I am part of HCBC's history.
My name is John Boyd. My wife Lillian and I came to HCBC in March of 1971. My heart was with the children and the young adults from the start. Our Sunday school grew to 200 people. I spearheaded the Awana program and started Junior Church. Our church became a Word of Life church during my tenure. This inspired some of our membership to go on to the Bible College, the mission field, and other leadership positions in the church and community. I served HCBC until 1976 when I rejoined the staff of Children's Bible Fellowship as director of the camp ministries. I am part of HCBC's history.
My name is David King. My wife Joan and I were called to HCBC in July of 1977. During my time as pastor, we filled 2 morning services each week. It was decided that a multi-purpose building would best fit the needs of our congregation, and after a tract of land was donated for that purpose, we began construction. Many people offered their time, skills, materials, and financial support during this time. The new building, the one we still use today, was dedicated in 1982. I left HCBC in 2002 to become a full-time missionary with Send International and spent 2.5 years in Kiev, Ukraine, mentoring and teaching at the seminary there. I am a part of HCBC's history, present, and future.
My name is Jasper Rains. I became Hollis Center Baptist Church's first official youth pastor in 2000. My wife Kendra and I moved from St. Louis and quickly developed a connection to the church's youth. Our goal was to take the youth ministry to a whole new level. We named it the Attic Ministry because the teens met on the church's 3rd floor. During my tenure, the youth group grew. Teen leaders were nurtured and given opportunities to serve in the church and in summer mission projects. We returned to St. Louis in 2004 to continue serving the Lord and adopted our son Jackson soon after. I am part of HCBC's history.
Hi, my name is Eric Keller. In 2005, I became HEBC's second youth pastor. Under my wife Rachel and I, the youth group continued to grow. Rachel had a passion for mentoring teens and young girls. In 2010, I began the Joshua Project, which encouraged youth to learn discipleship and leadership skills so they could participate more fully in church ministries. Graduates of this project have gone on to pursue the pastorate, become members of church leadership, and of church ministry. I left the church in 2016 to become the senior pastor at Small Point Baptist Church in Phippsburg, Maine. I am a part of HEBC's history.
My name is Ron Sargent. I served as HCBC's associate pastor before being called to the senior position following Pastor Dave King's resignation. My interests were, and still are, counseling and teaching. My wife Wendy and I have always been passionate about the friendship group and visiting our older members in their times of need. I announced my impending retirement in 2015 and preached my last sermon on Easter of 2016. I am part of HCBC's history, present, and future.
My name is John Libby, and I served as Pastor Ron's associate pastor for 10 years. I helped introduce Evangelism Explosion to HCBC, and we eventually became the Northeast Training Center for the organization. EE prepared our members to go out into the community and invite people to church and to share the good news of the gospel. My family and I spearheaded some fun and exciting vacation Bible school programs. I served as worship leader and music coordinator, and I always tried to be available to meet the needs of the congregation. I am part of HCBC's history.
I am Stephen Ray. My wife Natalia and my two boys Jake and Ethan moved from Kansas City to accept the position of lead pastor here at HCBC in September of 2016. I was trained for ministry at Baptist Bible College and did my postgraduate work at Calvary Theological Seminary. I spent 4 years as teaching pastor at Graceway Church in Kansas City, Missouri, before accepting the pastorate here in Maine. I'm excited to be a part of the future in the next 100 years here at Hollis Center Church. I am part of HCBC's history and future.
Amazing and praising and praising.